And we're back again to do business. 25 minutes is at our disposal, and here's what we have for this episode of the program. In Kenya, power demand has hit 2,411.98 megawatts in the month of October alone. External debt in Egypt has gone up $161.23 billion at the end of June. But it's good news for Zimbabwe. Their tourism sector is recording very impressive numbers. It's up 56%. Yeah, welcome to the program, and we start as usual from what's going on in the global oil space. Prices rose on Wednesday, and that's thanks to a decline in the U.S. crude inventories and optimism over a meeting between the leaders of the United States and China. These are the world's two largest oil consumers. So looking at the numbers this afternoon, it's 0.34% in the green. We see a change of color right there. $64.63 for Brent, $60.35 for WTI, after it went up also 0.33%. China's foreign ministry has said that Chinese President Xi Jinping would meet with the president. That's slated for tomorrow, Thursday, in South Korean city of Busan. And it said that the meeting could inject new momentum into the development of U.S.-China relations. And we've had a lot of positive sentiment around that. China also said that it was open to continuing cooperation with the United States after Trump said that he expected to reduce tariffs on Chinese goods in exchange for Beijing's commitment to curb exports of some chemicals. And then we come back here in Nigeria, where police have sealed off the corporate headquarters of Nestoil Limited in Victoria Island, Lagos, after the company was placed under receivership by a consortium of lenders over a reported $1 billion debt. A federal high court sitting in Lagos had on October 22, 2025, issued an order of Mariva authorizing First Trustees and its subsidiary, FBN Quest Merchant Bank, to take over the company's assets. It's also of note that GHL is not relieved from its liabilities, including its indebtedness to the bank. The bank is entitled to take steps to enforce any security, receivables, or assets of GHL to recover total amount owed to it. For the arbitration final award, $718 million claim against the First Bank Nigeria has been dismissed with the order to pay FBN arbitration costs of $112,100 and 111,250 million naira within 30 days. The bank is entitled to take steps to enforce any security, receivables, or asset of GHL to recover total amounts owed to it. Leaving oil for a bit, gold rebounded nearly 2% on Wednesday as investors found the metal attractive after prices fell to a 3-week low in the previous session, while the Federal Reserve rate cut decision and Chair Jerome Powell's speech took center stage. So when we see the numbers this afternoon, it's a beautiful one, very far away from what we had at this time yesterday. Almost 2% for spot gold in the green, $4,028.05. U.S. gold is 1.5%, $4,041.50 per ounce. Spot silver is 2.8% up, $48.35. Platinum is 1.9% at $1,616.35. Palladium is also up 1.3% at $1,412.01. And of course, we know U.S. President Donald Trump is in Asia now. He started the final leg of his Asia trip in South Korea. Optimism about advancing unresolved tariff deal with the president there and striking a trade war truce with Chinese president. Meanwhile, the Fed is widely expected to deliver a 25 basis points rate cut at its meeting today, just hours from now, and investors are looking for any forward information on that. We come back to Africa now, where Zimbabwe's tourism industry has recorded a remarkable 56% surge in 2025. That cements the country's position as one of Africa's leading travel destinations. According to data from the Zimbabwe Tourism Authority, the sector's rebound was driven by increased international arrivals, improved air connectivity, and sustained marketing campaigns targeting key source markets such as South Africa, United Kingdom, and Germany. Tourism receipts also rose significantly, buoyed by renewed interest in iconic attractions like Victoria Falls, the Hanging National Park, and the Eastern Highlands, among others. They attribute this growth to government efforts to enhance infrastructure, streamline visa processes, and promote eco-friendly tourism initiatives. Kenya's electricity demand has reached an all-time high of 2,411.98 megawatts in October 2025. This reflects the country's growing industrial activity and increased household consumption. According to data from Kenya Power, the record demand was registered on October 22, surpassing the previous peak of 2,395 megawatts recorded in August. The surge has been attributed to the expansion of manufacturing, higher uptake of electric mobility, and rising temperatures that increase cooling needs. Kenya Power Managing Director Joseph Sihor says that the new milestone underscores the resilience of the national grid and the success of ongoing efforts to enhance energy access. And he says the sustained increase in demand demonstrates the country's economic growth and confidence in the electricity infrastructure. The company emphasizes its commitment to maintaining reliable and affordable supply through continued investment in grid modernization and renewable energy. Egypt's external debt has gone up to $161.23 billion, and that's for the end of June, compared to $156.689 billion at the end of March. That's an increase of $4.51 billion, according to reports issued by the Central Bank of Egypt. The report states that long-term external debt reached $130.315 billion, while short-term debt amounted to $30.914 billion. The total external debt owed by the government reached $81.993 billion by the end of June, and that's compared to $82.039 billion at the end of March. The CBE's outstanding debt balance reached $37.335 billion compared to $34.033 billion, while the outstanding debt balance owed by the banks reached $22.236 billion, and that's comparing that to $20.894 billion. Egypt's external debt rose approximately $6 billion since the beginning of this year, reaching $161.2 billion. Let's look at Nigeria's economy now and the contributions of IHS Nigeria. IHS Nigeria is a leading provider of shared communications infrastructure services, and they had a prominent presence at the 31st Nigerian Economic Summit, the NESG Summit, reinforcing its position as a key driver of Nigeria's digital transformation and contributor to the development of the nation's digital economy. Let's have this conversation now with Mr. Kazim Oladepo. He's the Vice President, Chief Operating Officer of IHS Nigeria. Mr. Oladepo, good afternoon and welcome to the program. All right, so I think we lost Mr. Oladepo there. Hope to get him back soon and get on with the conversation. Hello, Mr. Oladepo, can you hear me? I think you should unmute. I can see your lips moving, but I can't hear you.
Can you
hear
me now?
Yes.
Can you see me?
Yeah, I can see you and I can hear you. Good to see you. Welcome to the program. So first of all, I think just out of curiosity, we know you were very prominent at the just concluded NESG summit in Abuja. Why the interest? What's your role? What's the connection?
I didn't quite catch your question very well. You said the last question
Can
after
you hear
the
me?
bit about our
Can you hear me
position at the
now?
NUST.
Can you hear me
I can
clearly?
hear you.
All
I
right.
can hear
So
you, but
I
not
was
very clearly. Go ahead.
okay. I hope it gets clear. So I was asking. I know that IHS Nigeria was very prominent at the just concluded NESG summit, which took place in Abuja, and I'm wondering what's the connection of IHS and the NESG. Why were you so prominent, or why did you participate so much in the summit? I think you're also one of the sponsors.
Thank you. I think in general, and just in terms of background, the IHS is an infrastructure, telecoms infrastructure business, which I think would suffice in today's terms a digital infrastructure business where we support wireless communication, which is at the heart of digital connectivity in Nigeria today, with about 16,000 tower assets, where telecom operators are able to broadcast and provide voice, data, and content services to end users and consumers in the market. Supporting that with whole bouquet of additional infrastructure on the fiber side, and even in some communities in rural areas, full-scale end-to-end network as a service infrastructure to consumers, so that we can also make digital services affordable and provide the required level of inclusion in those communities. Now, having said that, we have been active as a business in Nigeria for since 2001, 24 years, from where we have grown to become a global leader in digital infrastructure, one of the top five independent digital infrastructure companies in the world. On the back of that background is our very close um, affinity to development and growth of the assets that spurs innovation and the innovation that supports entrepreneurship and also support the economy and social advancement in the country. So when we see opportunities like the NESG Forum, which I must say quite commendable forum for discussing uh, economic initiatives and future growth opportunities and collaborations in our country. We feel very strongly as key participants in the development of the economy to be part of that discussion. And that, of course, is the basis of our very strong interest in participating at the NESG, both as summit participants, also as parties who picked up booths and exhibited some of our products and services, and also sponsoring the plenary sessions and some stakeholder engagement afterwards to discuss and chart the way forward for economic development in Nigeria on the back of digital infrastructure we
Hmm.
provide.
Yeah, so we noticed that a session there was fully sponsored by IHS Nigeria, and that was the session that was themed Smart Growth Digital Leap. What would you say are some of the highlights or your gains from participating, especially in that panel session?
Thank you. I think I'll speak about three particular highlights. One being the opportunity for private public sector partnership in the growth story of our country. I think by and large, there is clear consensus amongst participants at the event that the economy is turning it's turning the corner in terms of the challenges that we had seen in the past few years, and there are clear indications that we're on the right path for growth. So I figure one thing that came out clearly for us in at the session was the opportunity to strengthen this growth through increased public-private sector participation and collaboration so that we can deepen the quality of infrastructure, at least on the digital economy side of things where we participate actively and as that affects everything else in the economy, on the backdrop of growth in broadband connectivity and digital services contributing significantly to GDP growth in countries where those have been achieved. That's one. The other one is the role that connectivity and the digital economy would continue to play strongly in the economic growth pursuits and the development pursuit that all of the key stakeholders at the event focused on. So, by and large, it was an opportunity to brainstorm on the values that some of the initiatives that the government is currently looking at uh, in terms of digital infrastructure to the economy and how we can participate in that and strengthen some of those initiatives through both our expertise and our financial capacity and contribution, as we have done in the past 24 years in Nigeria.
Hmm. So the government has been talking a lot about digital upskilling, digital infrastructure, and all of that. Where do you come in as IHS Nigeria?
So, today, through our towers, our fiber, and the networks that we operate, as I've mentioned, we're hoping to connect and bring more and more people to digital inclusion and to be able to support their businesses, support quality of life in communities, and support the growth of talent and skills in the country. Where we come in going forward is to continue to invest in this. You know, adding more infrastructure where there's deficits, where there's gaps, looking at new technologies and providing infrastructure that will support the expansion of those new technologies across the market, working with partners, including our customers and vendors, and of course, state actors and the governments and the policymakers and the regulator to deepen that foothold, and also to start to look at places where today there isn't quite a lot of connectivity or access to services where we can provide bespoke services, solutions that are able to connect those communities and also bring them into the digital ecosystem so that they can also benefit from the advancement and the economic growth and the prosperity that the digital age is bringing. These are areas where we feel strongly that we can contribute. And some of the key insights that came out of the NESG forum are those that will enable us to collectively with other stakeholders seek solutions and initiatives and also join the the activism around deployment, services, operations across different layers of the economy that would help the country to achieve this growth. So, by and large, we continue to remain, a key stakeholder, and we will continue to be active participants in deepening, the economy as far as providing the impetus that would help to grow that and deepen it through connectivity services and digital services
All
on the
right.
back of it.
All right, thank you so much, Mr. Kazim Oladipo, the Vice President, Chief Operating Officer of IHS Nigeria, and thank you for your participation at the NESG. We certainly do hope that in the days to come we would see the results of those highlights that you spoke about. Thank you for coming on the program.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
All right, let's head to the markets now and start with Nigeria as usual. We see that the markets opened in the negative and has sustained that sentiment even at intraday. So the NGX is down at intraday 0.12%. It's looking really risky now, losing that 155,000 level. We've seen the investors are just taking profit, making the most of what they have saved up. Johannesburg is, however, on the flip side. 110 is back to the 110,000 level. It's gained more than 1% intraday. Egypt intraday is green, 0.08%. Nairobi closed very green yesterday. They seem determined to hit 200 level. Wonder if they will get there before the close of trade in this year. Now, moving over to the Middle East, we see mixed, mostly positive though. Dubai positive 0.13%, Abu Dhabi positive 0.08%, Saudi positive 0.2%, and Qatar negative. The loan negative as intraday 0.37%. Moving over to the United States, there we'll see that Dow is returning to green, S&P is green, as well as Nasdaq. That optimism, Fed rate cuts, that's top on the list. And then, of course, the meeting between China and the US, that's also exciting investors. But let's see the details of trade yesterday.
Stock market was higher on Tuesday as the Dow Jones was up at 0.4%, the S&P 500 ticked up at 0.2%, and the heavy tech Nasdaq led the day at 0.8% up. As many investors were watching companies like Nvidia as they had a 5% earnings increase on the day. The AI boom is back underway. As many investors are also watching to hear the Federal Reserve's announcement on Wednesday. There is much speculation that there could be another interest rate drop. But only time will tell, and many will be continuing to watch over the next few days and weeks ahead.
Well, that begins in a couple of hours in the United States when we expect to hear the decision of the Fed. Moving over to Asia now, Japan's Nikkei is still looking really excited. So just when the excitement around the new prime minister, the first female prime minister in the country is waning, we see that the meeting and agreement between the US and China, and Japan in this case, that's driving market sentiment. So we see it hit a new high at 51,307.65. It's up more than 2%. Exciting. Kospi of South Korea is also positive, 1.7. Hang Seng, however, lost out in that excitement. Look at other parts of the market at this time. Can we have the other markets? That would be nice, please. All right, since my producer's back there and already. So let's head over to Europe and find out what the markets look like there. We have Lars joining us. Hey, Lars, welcome to the program. What's investor sentiment intraday there?
Yeah, Ini, we have another one of those flat days. We've seen many of those, but, better than nothing. We've had some weakness actually in the DAX earlier this morning, and for good reason. First of all, one of our biggest companies here in Germany has come out with really bad numbers. Mercedes-Benz seeing their profit drop by a third. Now, that was kind of expected, and shares are actually doing pretty well, but it does dampen the mood generally. And then there's the fact that more than 10% of companies in the electronics and opticals business here in Germany are saying they don't have enough chips anymore. So we're seeing Germany and the EU, for that matter, suffering more and more directly from that mostly US-Chinese trade war that we're seeing.
So, another conversation I hear brewing up there is the connection between bureaucracy and meat, Lars. I'm curious, what's that?
Yeah, brace yourself, Ini, for a story that really could only come out of Brussels. So here's the problem. For years now, as people all over the EU switched to healthier lifestyles, many eating much less meat and replacing it with plant-based protein, the food companies have reacted and developed a host of new products. Now there's soya schnitzel or soy escalope. There's tofu wurst, or, well, tofu sausage. But now the EU has decided that traditionally a sausage is a meat product, so it is, if it's not meat, it can't be sold as a sausage. So even after years of consumers happily buying and eating veggie sausages, the EU says there is no such thing, and that food companies have to come up with a new name for the product. The reason? They say it's to protect consumers. After all, the EU says you don't want someone accidentally buying a vegetarian product when in fact they wanted a meat product.
Well, I wish I could mention some of those names last night you said. I think the only one I can say is tofu, but the other ones slip through me. But it sounds like the EU has put in a lot of effort when it comes to new rules. But how big is the problem really?
Yeah, Ini, that's the thing. There was no problem. The Commission has solved a problem that actually wasn't there to begin with. If the packaging says vegan soy sausage, no halfway intelligent person would think of it as a meat product. However, there might be a problem now. Companies have invested lots of money in new products. Some have changed their entire business model to adapt to more healthy consumer choices. Now they're afraid that being forced to change all the product names or the product categories would lead to real confusion amongst consumers. Retailers agree, and they're saying they fear that such changes could cost them billions in revenue. Even worse, the only reason the EU is even doing all this is because of pressure from the meat lobby. They have lost some of their business, obviously, and they are hoping to make their competitors' lives a bit harder. However, there would be a better way to help farmers, as consumers change their habits, the agricultural sector has to change too. And for that, it really needs support out of Brussels. It would need reformed subsidies. Farmers need help, maybe switching from certain forms of agriculture like livestock to other forms of agriculture. So definitely the EU has to help farmers, but the idea of doing it this way now by changing names and being laughed at by consumers, that is most certainly not the right way to do it.
Well, Lars, honestly, I mean, life is just so complicated. You want to change to healthier lifestyle and there's a cost to it. You want to stay with unhealthy lifestyle and there's a cost to it. Everything has its cost, Lars. I mean, I don't know where you are to say. All right, now let's go to the crypto space and see what's happening there. I believe the color for this afternoon is red. So yesterday we had 114,000, but for now it's 113,301.25. It's down more than 1% right there. And it's mostly, I think the only thing to celebrate here is that Ethereum is still holding on to the 4,000, which is very lean, very, very lean here. Any more move and then we'll lose the 4,000 for Ethereum again. But we'll see how that goes for it. You can hardly get a green there. And so see the headlines for now. Bybit has unveiled a new dynamic settlement frequency system for its perpetual contract. And the update is set to go on live by tomorrow. It aims to make funding rate adjustments more responsive to real-time markets. That's what they promised us. Cardano also is facing renewed bearish pressure. We saw that red there. Long-term holders begin to register losses for the first time in 3 months. These seasons do come. The recent lack of price growth has erased earlier gains, signaling investors' confidence may be weakening. And then stablecoin payments. Stablecoin again has hit $122 billion annual pace as businesses drive growth. Nigeria mustn't miss out of all of this. Well, that's it on the program today. Thank you so much for being a part of Business Incorporated. We're always here to give you updates from the world of business. I'm Ini John Mekwa, and I'll see you tonight to give you updates from the stock market. Bye-bye.